Device. It's this
For
one.
teammates, it's a 2v2.
All right, then that's great. So then make sure that is muted, that mic aux, because that's gonna pick up a random thing on the stream, and then we can pull YouTube. I would. Yeah, why don't we plug into and test that? I would say keep that on sheet 4, and then here, and then I'm just gonna start the other 3 streams.
Audio test.
What country?
Oh, Long Island.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so it's pretty good. I'll turn it down a little more. It's picking up a decent amount of the side audio, which is fine.
I imagine it would.
Yeah, this is not a super directional mic.
Yeah.
I brought Zach from Long Island to experience a Bonspiel. Couldn't find a team in town.
I knew him when I was with him.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. See you guys, you guys both for a lot of friends. See you guys.
Now we have whimsy in our hearts and so do silly things like this.
Yeah,
turn the other
so the
three
stream's
on.
up on all 4 sheets.
Did you turn them all on?
Yeah, leave OBS like that. That'll be fine. Cool. And then, yeah, and then, if you want to minimize it, do whatever. Just don't close out of them.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm going to set up a mute button.
Travis and John are the only ones who can turn this on. The goal is to get right, but I'm saying if we wanted to do the whole week, it's there, it's ready. If one of you are there and there are people willing to go on it, we'll put this switch. Otherwise,
Well, good morning, everybody. We are here this morning at the Schenectady Curling Club for day 3 of the Schenectady Open Bonspiel. We are just about to get started, slightly delayed. We're putting the finishing touches on the ice, but here on sheet 4 we have an A bracket matchup between Machismo Punk Rock Show of Ardsley and Hang Ten and Shake of Schenectady. Hang Ten and Shake are in these tiki Hawaiian shirts fitting in with the theme of the Bonspiel, which is Aloha. My name is Hugh Walton. I will be on commentary for most of the day, and joining me is my co-commentator, Zach Bostrom.
Hey, good to be here. Happy to be at a Bonspiel on dedicated ice.
Yes. I'm a member here at the Schenectady Curling Club, and Zach is a curler out of the Long Island Curling Club, so different experiences, dedicated ice versus arena ice. We are excited to call this game. Toss is going on right now. People getting their practice slides in, and it would appear as though, well, I don't know. Well, it seems like the Ardsley team has the hammer for this first end, with the Schenectady team choosing red stones. So we will get into this one in just a moment. No thoughts of how this match is going to go, although both teams have won all of their games up to this point, as demonstrated by the fact that we're in the A bracket. Throughout this match and throughout all of the day, we will be providing you with the updates, scores from the other sheets, but the live streams are available. Here's the first rock of the morning. It feels pretty light. They're sweeping it immediately, but they've gotten off of it. Well, back on it now. See, it might over curl the center line. Yes, it will. A lot of finish on that rock, and it is in the house as well. So we're going to see the takeout, and we are going to see the takeout attempting to roll over to the left side. We'll see if they can get this here. Control waits the call. This one's out, already trying to push. Now it's starting to curl, trying to prevent the push. Might over curl here. It's going to hit. It's going to hit, but the shooter will roll out of play. Both rocks going out of play, and now we'll see. Just going to try and replace that center line guard here and hit it better this time. Being swept again. Again, it feels somewhat light, but I think part of that is due to our angle. We're pretty low. I think this one over the hog line, and I think it might stick onto the center line, just barely coming over. But it is at least a guard. No free guard rule. Cannot take that rock out, unlike the first one. So now we'll see the draw behind as the shot called. Should have plenty of clearance around that guard, but it might unfortunately stick out a little too much or even roll through. Well, it's maybe 5-10% visible, but it's so far back that there's really no reason to try and take that rock out. So going back to draws here. This is Megan Stewart of Schenectady. This rock starting to lose pace. The way that this ice is played so far in the curling season is that right around 2/3 of the way down, it really starts to dig and starts to slide over a lot, have a lot of curl at the end. So we'll see how that progresses, if the ice is holding true to what it has been or if not. We've had some very cold weather lately here in Schenectady. You know, we've had below 0 Fahrenheit mornings, a couple of the mornings, but it's give or take 17, 18 degrees Fahrenheit right now. So we'll see if this draw comes around. It's being swept pretty aggressively. I think it might either lose steam or bounce into that red and promote into the house.
And yeah, we have promotion.
Promotes into the house. It's in the 12-foot circle. The yellow stone in the back of the house is still the shot rock. Now we'll see how Schenectady responds. Looks like they're going to try and come through the middle, that hole between the yellow rock and these two reds on the right side.
There's plenty of space there for that.
There's plenty of space, and you know, if you get the weight right, then yeah, you should be able to at least touch 8. And touch 8 is where the shot rock is right now. They are sweeping this one pretty aggressively, so it might not have the pace. It has the angle at least.
Slides through, yeah.
Slides through. Is
Very
it going to
similar shot
out
to the
count?
first one.
And that will out count.
So now red sitting 1. The rock is about half visible from our angle here in the hack, and they are going to attempt the takeout. Control weight. We'll see about this one. Oh, it's immediately getting pushed. It might have slipped out too far. Starting to come back. I think this one might just glance it. Yes, it will. It's a good shot. Shooter is just barely not going to stick around. Now we're into the Vice rocks here, halfway through this end. And the call is taking out that yellow rock on the left side. Ryan Stewart, the Vice, for this Schenectady team. Swept very hard on the inside, trying to prevent the curl. And that, I think, should do it. Yes, it will. It'll roll over. The roll was not useful. It didn't get any piece of any of the red stones. Didn't stay in, but at least took the rock out. Now this is just going to be a draw behind those two reds, I would imagine. I don't really know what else they would do here. Seemed a little bit narrow compared to the broom position from the skip, but I think this one will come in nicely. I'm going to sweep hard at the end, try and get it to push, try and get it to not be hanging out there, but it will hang. It's about 75% visible from the hack, so I would imagine he's either going to try and take it out or just sit in front.
Looks like they'll take it out.
Yep. Takeout's the call. If you nose this rock, then you might be able to get both out. And we'll see what Stewart can do here.
Seems narrow off the throw.
Yeah, being swept very hard, very early on. Again, nose should take out both. Just barely going to tick off that front red and slide out through the back of the house. No harm done. At least it does open up a little more room for you to take out that rock next time, but
Still mostly a waste, though.
yeah, especially if this guard is successful.
Everyone's been finding that line starting from the left side moving over, but that was just too narrow to start with.
Right. Getting into the latter stages of this end, there's no reason to throw a guard. His free guard rule doesn't exist, and so you want this one, in my opinion, to be in the house. Try and count 3 if you can, or at the very least, do whatever you can to make it a very difficult double run back to take out those shot rocks. This one, they are sweeping it hard,
Looks light.
but it will curl nicely at the end, and that effectively closes off the angle. So the call now is just going to be to try and draw and use that as protection. Mic check. Audio test. I think we might be back with audio. All right, welcome back, everybody. We apologize for the missing audio and then the static white noise that greeted your ears briefly. We are back. We'll try and monitor the stream for any further audio issues and prevent them if they come up.
That's the joys of live broadcasting for you.
The joys of live broadcasting when all you have is a Amazon USB microphone and you don't have an entire production team behind you. That's how it goes. That's the fun part of Club Bonspiels, isn't it, though?
You really invite in Murphy's Law at every opportunity when it comes to that.
Sure. Anyways, it did end up just being the one in that first end for Machismo Punk Rock show out of Ardsley. The final stone came in. It was a really, really close draw. I pushed the red stone up just a little bit, but not enough to out-count the yellow. Now we're getting into the second end here. Takeout is coming. Ryan Stewart doing a little bit of sweeping to make sure that gets well done. Takeout is successful. The guard has been peeled. Now we just got the one rock in the 4-foot circle.
Anybody want a drink or anything? At least I can do. Do they?
Again, folks, if you're looking for sheets 1, 2, or 3, there are live streams. Sheet 3 is currently under a delay due to bad ice conditions, but sheets 1, 2, and 4 are going. There is no commentary on sheets 1 or 2. We are just over here by sheet 4, but that is an option available to you if you so choose. Guard being placed there.
Both other sheets are currently in their second ends as well. There's a big score on sheet 1.
I'm going to try and pull up the what we've got here so that we know what teams we're looking at. I'm going to go send a runner to figure out which teams are what. So Zach will be right back. We're watching this one come, trying to go for the takeout. Just going to try and push it. Is it going to succeed? It will just glance, and it won't need to be swept out of the house. No rocks in the house, just that one guard up top now. So we will await this draw into the house. So, like we said, draw around the guard, try and have it land in the house, up a decent bit. It is starting to lose steam, so both sweepers will get on it. I don't know if this is going to make the house. It'll be close. I think that will just sit down for 3 guard. No, they were very nearly able to sweep that one in. So, over on sheet number 1... with the yellow stones is Team Brown from Broomstones, and with the red stones is Team Nowicki out of Albany. And the score is 4 to no score at the end of the first end in favor of that Broomstones ring. That is the other A bracket matchup going on right now at the current moment. Yeah, it would appear that the, at least on Bonspieler, if you go to Bonspieler, which there's a link to it on the Schenectady Curling Club website, has all of the information about this Bonspiel. At least for Sheet 1, those colors are accurate. And looks like we've also received the update here on Sheet 4 on Bonspieler that the score is 1-0 in favor of the the Ardsley rink, excuse me. On sheet number 2, the score is 2-0 at the end of the first end in favor of Dumb Front Enders out of Schenectady over Jeff Brewster's team out of Schenectady.
It looks like we're on our way in sheet 3 as well after that short delay.
Yeah, sheet 3 just getting underway now. First rocks have been thrown, getting ready to go. So we'll return back to this match. This rock is going to be beautifully drawn in. Just a tiny little bump on that red back, but very well sitting in there now. Great.
Guarded too, so there's only really one way in to bump that out.
Yep, the only thing that they really have is to just try and chunk it out however they can. Because, I mean, hang 10 and shake out of Schenectady with the hammer in this end. You got to get that yellow off of the button however you can if you want to have any chance of scoring here. I mean, at least they did only give up 1 in that first end, so you would consider that a decent success not having the hammer. You really want to try and score a couple here, so we'll see. It's being swept from the inside, trying to prevent the curl. Makes it around that first guard. Is that going to glance it out perfectly?
Inside.
That's honestly quite a good shot because now red is sitting 1. That yellow rock is second stone, but it is reasonably open for the takeout. I'd estimate about 75% of the rock is visible from the far hack.
The way good curl would knock that that redstone free though. I think really keeping it in. Get the right angle for it.
What, the one on the button?
On the button, yes.
See, I think you would need to throw it with reasonable pace to get it out of there, but I don't know if you get the finish at the end if you throw it that hard. I mean, you could throw something like backline weight, like hack would be too much in that scenario. Backline would be all you really need to try and get that curl at the end and have enough to push it off to our left towards the top of the screen as you see it on the live stream here.
Looks like they're going for that. Let's see if it curls in enough.
I don't think it has the weight necessary to really do anything.
No, it'll have to square on.
It might just even freeze. Just a little bump, but that's, I still think, a good result if you're Ardsley because, you know, that's just clogging up the forefoot, clogging up the button. What really does Schenectady have in this situation other than to try and draw another one in onto the button? Lots of discussions going on here between Merrick and Brian, the skip and vice of the Schenectady team, respectively. We're operating on a clock system as per usual here. The matches start with 2 hours and 5 minutes on the clock. Each end is expected to take about 15 minutes, plus you have 5 minutes of buffer time at the end. And as far as I understand, the clock did start a little bit late. I don't know what Sheet 3 is going to do because they're basically an entire end behind because of the delay due to the ice conditions. But so far, they are making time, although by how much? Not a whole lot. The other A match on Sheet 1, they are already into the third end. We'll get a score of that second end when available. That is between the Broomstones and the Albany team. A moderate pace on this rock. No sweeping so far, but they're close down to the rock. Starting to get the push now. What is this going to do? This is just going to hit that yellow, right? And so it will hit the yellow a little bit. So the shooter just thrown has a little bit of backing, but they're looking at a takeout from the inside, and that will have it avoid that yellow stone. Oh, we'll see. So if they get the angle right on this takeout, the shooter might roll into the button in such a way that it would outcount that red, which would be quite the shot, although...
The line is there, though.
The line is there, although I think if they do that, I don't know if they can get it into a position such that the red stone won't just take it out. Red takes 2 on the final throw of this second end. So we will see what we've got. An additional 2 points for that Broomstones team over on sheet 1. That makes a score of 6-0 after 2. Here's this final shot of the second end for Ardsley here. It is a little narrow. No, it's sliding out there. Unsure of who needs to be sweeping it, and for now it's nobody. That landed perfectly. Absolutely perfectly, and it even bumped the red out of the button. The red is still biting button. Maybe a third of it is on the button, but that is quite a shot.
On the flip side, though, it does leave that yellow opening pushed out, though.
Yeah, like
the same exact shot would have the sim rose out for red here.
Yeah, like we said, it was always going to be left a little open. And so I think nose on this takeout is 2 for red. He just needs to be very careful that he doesn't hit the guard in front. Because then, that's another point for yellow. That's a steal there. So we'll see. Rock is away. Plenty wide. No sweeping just yet. We're going to start to see the push here in a second. No, I think it's just not going to do it, is it?
No, it'll hit. It'll hit.
Hits it out. That'll just be 1 red. Couldn't get the nose for the 2, but taking 1, no harm done when you were having the other team sit 2 there for a moment. So both teams trade singles in the first 2 ends. We're a quarter of the way done with this one. 1-1 after 2 ends. First rock of the third end is out, being very aggressively swept. They don't like what they timed. They think it's rather short. I think the curl is also not going to be enough. This one's going to sit in between the TV line and the center line. No, it's coming a lot at the end. That will just come onto the center line. That is beautiful. A lot of curl to finish there.
Well, the first end, every shot was going that way, so these killers will dial in on that shot.
Yeah. I think I mentioned it sort of towards the top of the show that this ice, and my experience on this sheet especially, is that right when you get to the Little Rocks house, which is that little blue house in the top right of your screen, in front of the hog line for the young curlers, right about when it hits there is when it really starts to dig and it really starts to cut. And that was a great example of that cutting motion that we're talking about, where that was like almost outside of the TV line when it hit the hog line, and it just came over quite a ways.
You mentioned earlier how the cold conditions this week outside have been affecting the ice. How has that been compared to warmer climates?
So in my experience, if it just gets a little too cold, then, you know, we can't perfectly control the climate in the ice shed, and so it kind of makes the ice too hard. I liken it to an outdoor hockey game. Like the two of us, we were at Wrigley Field this year for outdoor hockey, and it was rather cold, and it almost makes the ice too hard. You want to have a little bit of give to the ice, and I think that is kind of a similar analogy in curling, as this one beautifully comes around. That will stop just past the tee line, right buried behind that guard. Great draw. But if it gets too hard, then it kind of becomes difficult to contend with. There's all sorts of factors in the climate inside and outside that will affect how the ice plays. You don't want it too soft. You don't want it too hard. You got to find that nice middle ground. Too humid, it'll be really sticky. Not humid enough, and it won't stick at all. It's quite a lot to deal with, but right now this ice looks pretty good. The weather's pretty nice outside. I mean, it's probably warmed up a couple degrees since we started, because the sun has been out for a couple hours at this point. And that's a pretty good draw there. That's even just behind the TV line, and that's sitting behind that guard that the Ardsley team threw. Although there is a lot less cover when looking from the hack on that yellow stone compared to the red stone. Another draw around the left side here. Being swept aggressively. We have been throwing a couple rocks this far wide out to the inside, but this one, that's another great shot. That will, from our view, just out count the yellow and count two. And now, smartly, they're just going to try and peel that front guard, have to try and increase access to the house. Ardsley with the hammer in the third end, you gotta have access to the house and get to those two great red rocks. So they're just going to try and peel this guard. This free guard rule has expired. They try and push it. It's just going to glance, I think glance perfectly. Yes. Shooter is out and the guard is out. That is a perfectly executed peel, leaving no junk. And now the call correctly is to just try and put it back.
Yeah, if you're hang 10 here, I think you would be happy with taking two, so just keep protecting as much as you can.
Yeah, keep protecting, as Zach said, and guard for your life. You've got two counting right now without hammer halfway through the end. Guard for your life is a good way to put it.
Yeah. In soccer, you have parked the bus. In curling, you have guard the bus now. I'm adding that to the lexicon.
Guard the bus. I like it. That one, try and push it. It's
nearly enough.
Not coming over as much as they would have liked, and so going from right to left on this takeout should, at the very least, take out the stone that's at the top of the 4-foot. And if you hit it just off of nose, you might be able to take both. So we'll see if this takeout is successful. Control weight being swept aggressively from the inside. So there might be a little bit of overcurling, but as long as you're around that guard, let it overcurl, I say. Just around the guard. Just a little bit too much overcurl. Not centered enough to take both of them, but at least you've taken that front one out. And now I think the play is to replace either the one that was just taken out or replace the guard. He's called to replace the guard, which I think is fine. You want to be out of that zone. There's sort of a sweet spot where doubles work really well. You either want to be too close or too far away for a double to be easy, and so they've opted for the guard having it be too far away.
I think that's the right call, too. I wouldn't want to risk accidentally hitting out your stone in that situation.
No.
Set a guard and let it be promoted if it has to be.
All right. Have to keep in mind that the Schenectady team does not have hammer in this end, and so you want to make sure that you leave the option of not letting the Ardsley team draw for one. So that's a great guard that's placed on the center line pretty much. There is no vision of the red rock in the house. The call is just to peel. The angle, you might be able to hit both of them.
That's what they're hoping for, it looks like.
Yes. And this is the fun part, is where we get to figure out whether Ardsley calls their ice forwards or backwards. Because to the rest of the curling universe, Schenectady calls the ice weird. We will point our hands in the direction that the stone is going to curl, which I think makes a lot of sense. But most other people would say you point your hand in the other direction. But this one, what is that going to do? Well, it gets rid of the outside guard, but it also has the unintended consequence of taking that yellow out of the house. Pretty wide open house, just the one red.
With the way things have been curling so far, that red isn't going to be much of a problem to deal with.
No. We'll see if this draw that they've called will cause some problems. We're in the third end at this point, so the ice is reasonably up to speed, so something that feels pretty slow might not actually be that slow. This one needs to finish hard, though. Trying to get it. It's just going to sit out there, and I think that's not the shot they wanted because it's a rather wide-open takeout, potentially the double here. There's very little coverage from that guard, maybe about 5-10%. And I think you have a pretty wide margin of hitting this stone that was just thrown to get the double takeout, and then the house is pretty empty. Oh, here it is. It feels really wide. This is miles wide, unfortunately. They're trying really hard to push it back in, but
It's not biting at all.
it is not. That is, unfortunately, a missed opportunity. And now, what is the call? Device putting the broom down for a draw. I think they're going to try and draw to the button here. I don't hate it. I don't hate a draw to the button in this scenario.
I think it's the right call. Capitalize on the mistakes. A 3 here would be huge this early in the match.
Yep. Because you can leave it short in this situation, and then you just have another guard. You know, maybe you crash into that red in the 8-foot and promote it into the position you want, and then you have a higher in the house guard. I think either way, the shot for Ardsley next would be draw around the right side as opposed to all these ones to the left we've been throwing. Really very little to the right, to the outside, towards the wall in this match so far. It's a little bit wide of the broom by my eye. And again, I think the leave is short in this situation. And they are sweeping it. It will come up short. But I think it will be a very good guard. It might get a little bit of bump. No. Just coming short, almost freezing onto that front red. And that, I think, makes the prospect of a double pretty impossible. So that is a successful shot if you're Schenectady. Three rocks remaining total in this third end. Score is 1-1. Machismo Punk Rock Show out of Ardsley with the Yellowstones, and Hang 10 and Shake out of Schenectady with the Redstones. We'll have some score updates in between ends for you. Sheet 3 did end up getting underway. They're in their second end right now. Here is the shot. The takeout is the call. Appears to be control weight. Is this wide again? Trying for the push. It might just get there. It knocks the back of the two front Redstones a little over to the side. So now that stone that got moved is visible from the hack. But what do you do now? Do you guard this front red again? Because the double might be back. That's what I think you do. I think a higher percentage shot, if you're Ardsley, is that double run back takeout as opposed to trying to come around the right and do a double takeout.
Well, keep in mind, it looks like as this match is progressing, it's so well worn on that part of the ice right now. Every shot in the first and third end has gone that way, it feels like. Things just aren't biting anymore. There's not as much curl in that spot anymore. Everything seems so much straighter as they get later into this match.
I would agree. I think the move is just to guard. You could get greedy and try and draw around that red rock in the 12th foot, but I don't know if you do that. You're sitting 3 without hammer. I think you should just prevent Ardsley from making a good shot to take 1. So you guard that wide open gap on the right, or on the left, excuse me. That would be on the top half as you see it in the bottom right hand of your screen. This needs to not curl so much. I think that is the perfect shot. You're in the house. What do you have if you're Ardsley here?
You can maybe clear 2, but this is definitely going to be a Schenectady end.
They have to hit the shooter, the rock that was just thrown for Schenectady. They have to hit it, and based on the angles that were afforded, we might see a little bit of room for them to be able to hit this front rock and then hit the rock in the button, like in between the button and the forefoot, and then hold the Schenectady to just 2. Because there is no draw. It is completely clogged up in there. And so they have to try and minimize the number of points that Schenectady scores. Takeout on the way, trying to push.
Will call back in.
It will at least hit this first one. Well, it takes a rock out. That will be 3 points.
Some damage control at least.
But some damage control is better than none. That one stone might come back and matter in the end, but that is 3 in favor of Hang Ten and Shake for Schenectady. They take a 4-1 lead after the third end here in this A bracket matchup. Some other scores. We have finally some points in favor of Team Chew for Albany on sheet number 1. That now becomes a 6-1 game. They're in the late stages of the fourth end. They're playing very quickly over there. And then on sheet 2, it is 4-2 after 3 ends in favor of Team Brewster. And then on sheet number 3, we are just about done with the second end, but currently it is 2-0 in favor of Hawaiian Hit and Roll out of Schenectady over Team Walker of Cincinnati. First guard is out. It is off the center line, but it is still a guard out of the house, so cannot be taken out.
So we'll see how Ardsley responds here. In your opinion, do you think they try and make it all back now, or just play the conservative game, chip away at this lead, or do they go all for it right now?
You know, I think you need a big part of curling is, oh my goodness, his broom just broke. One of the Ardsley curlers just snapped the broom. That's interesting.
I've seen the heads break before, but never in the pole like that.
Yeah. Oh, we'll take a club broom. And say, it looked like he tripped over, but no, his broom snapped and putting his weight on it. It gave up. Wow, that's something.
Definitely hurt the throw too. They barely made it over the line there.
Yes. That is quite unfortunate. Although I'm not sure that additional sweeping would have really made that much of a difference. Speaking of sweeping, this one is being swept down the ice. It's around the guard. You know, that guard is on the center line, so the center line guard rule does apply, but this one is very expertly drawn into the 4-foot. Plenty of coverage with those guards. That is a good shot. This one around the guard. They are sweeping it kind of hard now. Where is this one going to land? It might just rub off of that red. Red still counts, but this yellow throne is well guarded by that guard up front. So I think the move is to, just guard that line again. So that is what they're going to throw. They're going to throw top and a little bit off to the outside. Let's see what we got. Sweeping from the inside. Trying to make sure it gets on that line that's desired. And it's pretty short, but it does come up on that line. It's doing a pretty good job of guarding. So now Ardsley's just going to start the peel game.
Yeah, with placing the first stone, I think that right side of the sheet is pretty closed off now with these guards. So not much else you can do here.
Yeah. And I guess They would rather peel the closer to the house guard because of the fact that the red stone is on that side and you want to open it up for a potential takeout later down the line. This one is a little wide. It's being swept to try and push it in. That'll get the job done. It will glance off, and Redstone does stick around. It's about halfway biting the 12-foot. That might come to pass later on. Hack weight is the call. I'm going to try and hit that yellow stone out. I think that's the call here. If it's open over there, you have that available to you. So let's see.
We'll see if it curls enough. This is a pretty new shot for this game. Everything's going the other side.
Yeah, well, this one has fallen outside of the TV line. It might just hit the red out. The weight's pretty good for Hack, but I think, unfortunately, this is just going to hit the red. No, I'll come off the front. Had a bit of a blind spot there. I came off the front of that yellow, knocked it loose, but gave it more protection behind those two guards up front on the outside of the sheet. So now another takeout and try and hit those two reds out. It's over-curling a little bit. Swept from the inside. I think this is a great shot.
It's both.
That gets both of them out. That hit the perfect angle with the perfect weight. One of the reds is still in play, although it is out the back of the house. So, well, more off to the side, but we'll see how that one. And I doubt it will have any effect, but there's no way to know until the rocks are thrown, of course. This is the fourth end of this 8-end game. Score 4-1 in favor of Hang Ten and Shake of Schenectady over Machismo Punk Rock Show of Ardsley. And we have fully entered the takeout game here. This one might be over curling. I'm a little worried. Well, it's not. That is another great shot. Unfortunately, because of that one red that stuck around, both yellows are still in the house, but the center is wide open. So now this is going to be a high draw onto the center line. Both sweepers are hard on this rock. I don't think this is going to make it to the house. Is it going to make it past the hog line even? It will, but that, I think, is a missed opportunity. Really, it's dealer's choice of which direction to try and draw around, because the two guards on either side are pretty even. You're going to draw around the inside.
The button is a bit closed off, though, so wouldn't call it super easy to get it in, but that one yellow in the back could seem as a landing point almost.
Yeah, there is backing if you're heavy. And freezing to that yellow would be shot rock. So there is opportunity if you're heavy to try and sweep this one, keep it on that line, keep it from getting to the center line, but I think you might be too wide and we'll end up having to try and play off that rock regardless. So it's going to be swept. Try and push it in. That comes to rest inside the 4-foot, about halfway, just past the tee line, with backing. However, the backing is, I think, a little too far away that any glancing blow will be enough to take that rock out, and you're not really at any risk of taking the yellow out either, if you're not, as long as you don't nose it.
In worst case, you still have the other yellow on the other side, so wouldn't be the end of the world either.
Yep, having that extra yellow is great insurance. Keep in mind the Ardsley team in the Yellow Stones does have the hammer this end, and so really all you need to do is just continue to play the get the Red Stones out of the house game. Because you've got those two. You have effectively split the house right now. As long as you can get these Reds out. This one, I don't think it has the weight it needs. Trying desperately to push. It's going to make contact, but unfortunately it is going to hit off of that yellow in the back. And now that red is second. And so if you're Schenectady, you play the hit and roll here. You hit the yellow that was just thrown, and you roll behind the guards, and you're sitting two. And you're in great shape to steal again. So I think the hit and roll is the proper decision in this case. So we'll see if they can deliver. Because if you roll it behind well, then that is going to be a very difficult rock to get out. And you're sitting two. You are in a world of hurt. If you are Ardsley in that scenario. It might be over curling, though. Might be light. No. What is going on here? It's a little light, but it's just going to curl perfectly. Just inside. Great protection. Just 3 rocks to go here in this fourth end. And yeah, I would be looking over this situation with a, I don't know, attitude. And you do have 2 rocks left to throw for Ardsley, both skipstones, so you can play a setup shot here. But unfortunately, they have been painted into a little bit of a corner with how well placed that shot is. It's pretty much, it's biting the button. It's basically invisible from the hack with those guards up front. It's quite a shot. And you also have to worry, if you mess this up, you're leaving another opportunity for the takeout of that yellow, and then red is sitting 3, and then it very quickly gets out of hand. You're down 6 rocks halfway through the game. So this is a really pivotal moment. Pivotable is not a word, but pivotal is a word.
Yeah, you're seeing the effects of that last end. I mean, 2 here for red would almost put the match away halfway through.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that, because over on sheet number 1, it appears that a comeback is in progress. It started out 6-0 after 2 ends. It is now 6-3 in the 5th. We'll avoid making statements that will count any team out of it, especially in a Bonspiel as fun, exciting, and weird as the SOB. But this shot, yeah, very important. Coming out reasonably wide is well outside the TV line at this point. Both sweepers are on it hard. Starting to dig a lot. I think he just left this one out there. And might come back at the end. It's really close. Unfortunately, that is, I think, not the shot, because all you've done is bury the red even more. And now, if you are Schenectady, I think you just have to try and guard that line. Because if you can, hit that rock that was just thrown, if you're Ardsley, you might be able to, if you hit it with more force than last time, hit that red out. And so that's what they're talking about right now, the Schenectady Skip and Vice, is they're talking about how do we prevent that. And I think the move is to just throw a guard in that area. Last rock for Schenectady in the fourth end. There was one more to follow from Ardsley. What does Merrick have in store? This is, I think, got the right pace for a guard, but it is over curling, and so just trying to keep it out there as long as possible. Past the hog line. I think this is the line that you want, because you're close enough that makes that shot rather difficult. I still think that's the only shot you've got. I think regardless of what you hit that front yellow with, the one at the front of the 4-foot, regardless of what rock you hit that with, that or the other yellow will end up being shot rock. So instead of, yellow using their own rock to hit the yellow, instead it ends up being a situation of yellow hitting the red to try and hit that yellow.
That's my concern too. Yeah, I like that shot. It did feel a little hard though. It is a little too close. The angle is possible for using that red to your advantage if you're yellow here.
Well, it will be a fun shot to see, and I will be very happy and excited if he hits it. So, as that would count you 2, I think, as long as you don't have that back yellow shoot out, should count 2 for Ardsley, and then they're right back in it. Score right now is 4-1 in favor of Schenectady. So this is the final rock of the fourth end. We will be halfway home with this A bracket matchup once this comes to rest. There it is. How is the angle? It's got plenty of weight. It's got to get pushed, though. I think that's just can continue to slip out. And that will
Not be enough, no.
No, I don't think it will touch anything. It might hit that red in the back, but that's not relevant. That is 1 more point to red. So now the score becomes 5-1 in favor of Hang 10 and Shake over Machismo Punk Rock Show. Halfway home here on sheet 4. And we'll enter the fifth end.
Challenging start so far in end number 5 as both of the first shots are too short.
Halfway home in this quarterfinal matchup. Both teams undefeated to this point. Sweepers on it heavy yet again. This one, I think if it's over, should curl onto the center line. Now it will not have enough to curl onto the center line, but at the very least it is in play a successful guard. Gonna play to split the house here. The draw around to the outside. I think, you're kind of nearing that point if you're Ardsley where you can no longer play conservative standard default strategy and you have to try and make something happen here. So they're going to try and split the house. This one, is that just going to slide into the house? Yes, it will. A well-played shot there. And correctly, the call is to attempt to take it out. And the problem if you don't take it out is that Ardsley will simply throw another rock to the opposite end of the house, and that becomes a problem. This one being swept from the inside, trying to prevent curl. It's in a good position right now. Will hit just to the outside, and the Ardsley stone will shoot out to the back. Schenectady stone still in play, although it was precariously close to the board. We'll see if it has anything to say by the end of this fifth end. And did that rock pick? No. It looks like it might have lost a lot of speed there.
Yeah, so in the first two shots, I think the ice is evolving. Things are slowing down, especially on that line.
What, towards the inside especially?
Yeah, the inside left.
Yeah, there have been so many shots played this match to that side of the ice, and so it would make sense that the pebble has been worn down to the point of breaking down. As it got very quickly on that line after it broke in. There were no stones run in between the nip and the beginning of matches this morning. And so there was that break-in period of the ice. I think in most parts of the ice, it is there, but like we're saying, on that left side, on that draw line, it has almost broken down and has gotten slow already.
Yeah. It's part of the hidden puzzle of curling, really, seeing how the ice evolves over the course of a game, a weekend, a bonspiel. It was like to me like bowling as you watch the oil change over the course of a weekend. Similar to that, the ice will change slowly. It's about how you adjust it, how you read it.
Yes. Reading the ice is simultaneously a science and an art. And
sometimes a prayer, too.
Yes. So this rock will end up in the house. It is pretty open. Could be taken out. And yes, the call is for a hit and roll. As if this rock rolls right behind those two guards, then that is going to put Schenectady in another great situation to try and steal. They've stolen 2 ends in a row. So take out control weight, I believe, It is over curling already. And I don't think this is going to hit anything. I think this is going to go right through. No, that will miss everything and do no harm. So now, if you're Ardsley, you want to do whatever you can to either prevent them from throwing that shot or make it so that that shot is no longer the optimal shot. So I believe this would be a draw, not a takeout, although the ice is pretty much identical for both shots. Yes, this is a draw, although he is a little narrow, I think. He is light as well. They're sweeping this very hard. It might just come right into that red, and yes, it will. They've gotten off of it smartly to prevent any chance of a promotion into the house that will not get out of the 2-guard range. But even on that right side, it seems like they're not getting the weight right. It's interesting. They're going to try and hit in the roll again. And this one is a lot wider. Just going to try and prevent it from hitting. Yes, that is a smart call to sweep from the inside there. You know it's not going to curl in, and so you want to keep it coming out to prevent it from hitting that yellow stone into that roll position where it's got all that protection from the 3 guards up front. So now they're going to try the exact same shot. They're going to try that draw that they tried the last rock. See if he gives it the weight that it is requiring. The line, the ice call seemed to be about right. It just crashed into that guard because it was light. Hard sweeping from both sides, most of the inside. Now going for the push. This one a little heavier than the last, but not quite heavy enough. It will get into the house, though. It will get into the house. It is almost protected, but I think that's just a little bit light and a little bit wide of what they were hoping for. And I think what Merrick and Brian are talking about is, can you place the rock right in the middle and just have them both shoot out in either direction?
It'd be a fun shot to see for sure.
It would be a very fun shot to see. They're also thinking about drawing around the left side, around to the inside, where we've seen all of those draws. And I think they're going to try and throw this takeout here. I think if you hit it correctly, the red will sit one unprotected. That yellow guard up front is not helping where this rock would end up, but we will see.
One of the prizes donated by Jeff Mayotte.
One of the prizes we have in our raffle is a grandfather clock, and it keeps going off on the hour, which is very funny. Anyways, let's see this takeout. It is a little bit wide, a little bit heavy. I don't think this is going to do it. It will take one, though. It will at least take the outside rock. It takes the outside rock, rolls around to the outside, and hey, that rock that was sitting there did end up doing something.
Everything comes full circle sometimes.
The shooter is not sitting in the house, but at least I was right, and it was of some marginal use.
Well, when you set up a stone in Act 1, it has to pay off in Act 3, I believe.
What is that? Chekhov's stone?
Chekhov's stone, yes.
Yes. All right. So now skip rocks here for Ardsley. They have 2 remaining. All right, draw around the outside. This is a precarious shot. You don't want to leave anything to work with on a hit and roll. This one has the right weight to not be a guard, but it has, unfortunately, also the right weight to maybe get swept out. No, it'll just stick in the back. That's honestly not a bad shot. He's now Ardsley sitting 2. You know, I think we might be in yet another Chekhov's stone situation because they're going to throw this same takeout, try and hit the inside rock that they missed last time, and if they do, the shooter might spill out to the right and stay in. Although, looking at the screen we have above the above this house, it might be a little bit too horizontal of an angle. I think it might just be a little bit too shallow to rub off of that stone on the right side, but
I don't see the angle forward, especially with that yellow guard up front. I mean, that's now paying off, finding that angle at all.
Yeah, well, no, I think this takeout is you have half of the rock visible. That's reasonable, but trying
to hit the other red though.
Yeah, that'd be a little silly. This one needs to curl, really needs to curl, and it's just not going to. And so that is the door left wide open now for Ardsley. You simply need to draw into the house to take 3, and then you're right there. Score right now is 5-1 in favor of the Schenectady team over the Ardsley team, but draw anywhere into the house, and the score is now 5-4. So we'll see if he has the weight dialed in. We're on that right side where we've seen a lot less of the rocks being thrown. It'll be interesting to see. They're on it right away. I figure they can't hurt it, but this is taking a really, really wide angle. I think you might be getting into some unused pebble. Yeah, I think they have the weight right. That should just slip into the back 12. That will count 3 in the 5th end for Ardsley. The score now 5-4 after 5 ends. Got some other scores for you. The score on sheet 1 has advanced to 7-3. They have 1 or 2 rocks left to throw in the 6th end. They're playing rather quickly. On sheet number 2, the score has gotten to 8-2. The teams. And those teams there on sheet 2, that is 8-2 in favor of Team Brewster. The 2 Schenectady teams playing against each other. And on sheet 3, they have entered the 5th end with the score 6-0 in favor of Hawaiian Hit and Roll. So that guard being far off the center line, they are going to try and play for the house split here. Drawing around to the outside of the sheet. The weight, they're a little worried about the weight. I think the weight's pretty good. No, they've both gotten on it now. If they're aggressive, they'll get it into the house, but I think this will... No, that's not close. That'll sit in the... about a 3-guard range. That actually did roll out quite a bit towards the end. I think that's... yeah, lending more credence to our theory that the outside of the sheet is a lot faster right now than the inside of the sheet. Outside and inside referring to outside being on the wall and inside being towards the middle of the ice shed. This one will just barely get swept into the house. A little bit of protection from that guard, but it is open for the taking. But they are going to use the guard that they just threw to the outside to throw this one into the house now. Trying to go for the house split. Trying to prevent the curl. I don't think this has the weight. No, they're both on it now. This one is on a collision course for the guard. It won't collide very hard, if at all. It'll just bump it to the inside a tiny bit. These are quarterfinal matchups on sheets 1 and sheets 4. This one's got plenty of speed, is the call from the lead. And I think I would agree with that statement. That is got a lot. They're going to try and push it to hit off of the rock that they have in the house. You know, that reversed handle. That, I don't think it was throwing very much handle. Reversed at the end, and now that is wide open for them to hit and roll. And they want it to roll to the outside. They've been throwing over there all end so far. Trying to get it over there, so we'll see. But this is going to turn from outside to inside, and then roll back to the outside. The weight is good for control. I think he's got to sweep it. No, they're gonna push. Yeah, I thought that was gonna over curl, but that is very expertly called. That is pretty well defended. I think you might be able to see a little bit of it from the hack, but not much. So this wouldn't be too easy of a takeout.
Yeah, they'll be happy with that weight there. I think it was just enough to get it somewhat behind without the risk of completely overshooting and leaving the house.
Yeah. There are very few scenarios for club curlers to be throwing much more than control weight on your takeouts, at least in my opinion. And now what they're going to do is they're going to try and draw this to freeze onto that rock. Freeze just to the inside and out count. They're both getting on it. They have to hurry. This one, I think, is going to come up short. That'll crash into those two corner guards that were thrown early on, but it will, at the very least, bite the 12-foot circle. Some benefit there. This one being swept almost from the beginning to prevent the curl. Will come right into that front guard, but at least that opens up the house for all sorts of potential draws or takeout. They're going to try to position the rock that was thrown with their previous shot, this Ardsley team. They're going to try and push that rock into the position they want. Now they're talking about it now. I think the run back is a better call than the draw around, in my opinion at least, because that angle I think is a little too aggressive. So you don't need to throw this much more than like T-line weight, but you want to contact the yellow and not get around it. Plenty of weight, says the lead. It's being swept for line. All the way line's a call. That will, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's a bad shot because you've moved that rock out of the way and you have another rock in the 12.
Yeah, it leaves options for sure.
Yes. Although, if Schenectady simply hits those two rocks right in front, then Schenectady's sitting 1, maybe 2, and they're at a pretty good opportunity as we're halfway through with this end to grab multiple and re-extend their lead. We'll see where this one ends up. Needs to be pushed. It's going to hit one of the rocks, I think. It should hit the one, but unfortunately, it hit it with too glancing of an angle, and it just hit right off that other one, and it remained in the house. Yes, you are right. That is red now sitting 1. That shot rock in the top corner of the house in the 8-foot. Now trying to take out that red. Sit, 4? It would be sitting 4 if they succeed on this takeout, although it is just going to hit these corner guards again. All right. Those corner guards that were thrown at the start of the end have been very useful. The Schenectady team has done a good job of forcing play to be done over to that side, and so those rocks have come into play many times in this end. This is the last of the Vice rocks. And this takeout is just going to hit to the outside of the rock. But that does its job. It peels. No junk left behind.
I can't quite tell from this angle, but if you freeze on that Yellowstone, would that be first stone, do you think? And would that be a viable
Which
strategy
Yellowstone?
Here? The Yellowstone nearest us, towards the bottom, towards the back.
The one in Montana and Wyoming and the little sliver in Idaho?
Yes.
Oh, no, the one that he's standing over. Okay. I think no. If it freezes, no. If it rolls a little to the inside, yes. And this rock will, I think, just slip into the house like they want. They'll do more than slip, actually. They'll brush it into the 8-foot. But that is now shot.
I'm not too sure about that. It's very close.
Yeah, it is very close. You're right. But I think all you need to do is, bump it back a little bit. Like, if you throw, like, a little more than back 8 weight. A little more than back 8 weight means that, you're going to push that yellow back a tiny bit to where it's going to be out counted by your red up top. And then you're definitely sitting 2 in that scenario, and you have backing. I think that is the proper shot to throw in this scenario. So we will see. We'll get you progress from the other 3 sheets plus the out-of-town scoreboard once we're done with this end. And sweeping from the outside, trying to get the push. This, I think, is just way too wide. This, I don't think, is going to end up being very good. It's just going to sit wide open there on the button. I mean, if that's your attempt at skip rocks, that's pretty good. But I think, unfortunately, it's just too wide open. So this will just be a simple takeout, and if you're Ardsley, you want to leave the shooter around. Because if you leave the shooter around, then you're kind of forcing Schenectady to just take one. But they are sweeping hard inside, trying to prevent the curl. This one, I think, is going to nose it perfectly. A little bit of roll, but that did what it needed to do, in that you hit and then you hope that you are the team scoring here. Because I do not know who Shot Rock is. Final rock of end number 6 is out of the hand. Being swept from the inside. Trying to prevent. Well. Called off. And, well, that hit right on the nose. They might want to measure this. This is very close. It did not make time, as far as I'm aware. So they will play one more end, I think. So they have time to measure. Yes, they are going to go ahead and measure. There are 29 minutes remaining on the clock. Looks like we've had a shake on sheet number 2. And sheet number 2, that would be Team Brewster with the win over Dumb Front-Enders. Measurement getting ready here. We either have a tie game, or it's a 2 shot lead for Schenectady. And I think that is red. Yes, that is red. So that is one scored with hammer for Hang 10 and Shake. We'll play one more end going into the 7th. The Ardsley team, Machismo Punk Rock Show, will have the hammer in this last end, trying to take at least 2. Yes, we've had the Shake on sheet number 2. Team Brewster with the win there. The score now is 7-4 over on sheet 1 in favor of the Broomstones team. And on sheet number 3, it is still 6-0 in favor of Hawaiian Hit and Roll.
So as Hang 10 here, how do you protect a 2-stone lead in the last end? What is the approach for them?
So, if you have a big lead, all you need to do is simply prevent the other team from scoring. And that would be take rocks out of the house. You can't score if you don't have rocks. However, with only a 2-shot lead, you're kind of unable to do that because you risk giving up a couple with that strategy. If you're up, say, 6, then yes, you should do that. But here, it's a little tougher. Anyways, that is a beautiful guard right on the center line, right in front of the house. We'll get the out-of-town scoreboard for you now. We don't have any curling out-of-town scores, but we do have some soccer scores. Liverpool is up 1-0 on Ipswich Town. Southampton is up 1-0 on Newcastle. Bournemouth is up 1-0 on Nottingham Forest. No score between Wolverhampton and Arsenal. No score between Brighton and Everton. That's your out-of-town scoreboard. Now we'll go back in town and talk about this game. Good draw around. That's pretty well protected. You've got maybe 10% of the rock visible from the hack, so that is a very successful draw. It is maybe a little bit too deep because it's past the tee line, but still pretty good. But it would appear the shot is to try and freeze onto the button in front of that one. But this is really narrow. This is really narrow. They might want to just get off of it and let it over curl, let that centerline guard do its thing, but they're going to hit. That's not terrible. That's not that bad, honestly, because it opens it up for a potential takeout, and you have a rock in the 4-foot now. I don't hate that at all. But now, for Ardsley, they're just going to try and take out this rock in the 4-foot. The one that was just run back.
Yeah, that has to go. You can't score 2 if you have an opponent in the 4-foot typically, so.
Yep, it would take a lot of very precise drawing. And this early with a rather open house, rather open set of guards. Just try and take it out now, but this one's going to over curl. And that all that does is just nose the one, their one yellow. Yeah, interestingly enough, right, the second rock that was thrown for Schenectady is a centerline guard. They replaced a centerline guard with a centerline guard and have a shot in 4-foot. But now if you are Schenectady, you just try and draw more. There's no need to try and take it out when you would rather draw to freeze onto that yellow with backing, because that makes it exceedingly difficult to get out, and then you just start guarding for your life if you're Schenectady. But this one needs to go a long way. They're going to have 3 people on the broom here trying to get this one there. I don't think it's going to get there. It's coming close, though. It's really close. very, very, very close. It will just come short of biting the 4-foot, and I don't think that's a bad result.
Great
But-
effort on the sweeping there to extend the life of that stone.
Yes. But now if you are Ardsley, you simply must remove these red rocks from the house. We're not in Denver. We don't want red rocks here. We need space to throw our own yellow rocks in there. This one is being swept hard from the inside, trying to prevent the curl. Because you could, if it overcurls, hit your yellow out. But this one is good. Push at the end. Yes. And now you're oh, if that had stuck around, then you might have been splitting the house, which would have been pretty good. But unfortunately, it will just slide out to the outside. So now just more draws. Just get it in there, you know. Both sweepers staying close, sweeping hard from the outside, both on it now. Trying to clog up that lane. I don't think this is going to hit the 4, will it? No, it'll just rub off of the red. The red that got hit will end up in the 4-foot. And they are going to try and take out one of these 2 red stones. They're going to take out the outside one, try and open up that lane for more draws at the end. You want, if you're Ardsley, to leave yourselves with a draw for 2 at the end of this end. Let's see. Is this one going to curl enough? I'm trying to push it. Don't hit that yellow now. And I called it. That's exactly what I was worried about. That hit that yellow out. Now, if you're Schenectady, you just guard. You just guard. You do not let Ardsley take your rocks out. Because, I mean, right now, at best, you're leaving them a draw for 1, which is not going to get the job done.
This is certainly guard the bus territory.
Yes. This one, plenty light. Sweeping hard from the inside to try and not have it over curl. This one will slide into the house. They're going to try and finish this. That one, like that is shot rock right there. Like that had a lot more weight to it than it looked like out of the hand. Especially if we've been talking about how, you know, it's been slowing down on that line. I don't know. It's interesting. And now, again, Ardsley, if you're them, you simply must remove these rocks from the house. Yeah, 3 right on the 4-foot. Like, if you hit it correctly, then you could get all 3. But with the ice that he's giving, this is not going to be thrown super hard. They have been sweeping this rock the whole time. It will come up short. I really don't understand that. This will be the final vice stone for Schenectady. And it is just going to be another guard placed on that line. And I think that is bad news for Ardsley if this is a good guard. You simply have to try and clear up enough ice to take 2. You only got 3 rocks left for Ardsley. That's
quickly running out of time here.
Yes. And as far as we're aware, this is the final end. We don't think they made the clock. And that is a perfectly placed guard right on that line. I guess you do have a little bit of space to try and go around the outside and chunk something out, but no, they are going to try and take that rock right out immediately. You have to. If you nose it, however, if you nose it, or maybe hit it a little bit to shooter's left, you could have the yellow do that work to get rid of those reds in the forefoot, but that has to be a perfectly placed shot. We'll see. Sweeping hard from the inside. It is looking really good. Well, that'll take one of them out. So now red sitting just 2. It's not over yet, and from what we can see behind this hack, like, those 2 reds are quite visible. If you throw something with enough pace as the house stands, then you can very easily get rid of both. And then Ardsley takes 2, and then we are going to the tiebreak. And these are the skip rocks of this 7th end. Incorrectly, the call here is a guard. Just try and prevent the Ardsley skip from hitting those rocks out. It's being swept really hard. You got to make sure that you get it over the honk line. It's over, and it is on the right line. That is a well-placed guard.
Yeah, I don't see a clear way to clear out those last 2 red stones now. That did definitely make anything curling in a much more challenging shot.
What I would do, you have 2 rocks to work with. What I would do is blow up those rocks on the center line. If you blow up those rocks on the center line, then I think you have a pretty good shot at, hitting those 2 reds out in the back. You just have to hope that they don't successfully put a guard back up. The good news for Ardsley is that they do have a rock in the house, and they only need to get 1 more rock in the house, but that rock that they have in the house is sitting 3 right now, which is not going to do it. And yes, it does appear that they are going to try and blow those guards up on the center line. Just try and clear them out however you can. This one might be a little narrow. Yes, swept hard from the inside. That, I think, is a perfect shot because shooter is gone and those 2 guards are gone. Pretty simple prospect for Schenectady, I think. I think you just replace it. Yep. The call is for the center line guard. If this is a successful guard, then there's really no way in which the Ardsley team can get that second stone that they need while taking out those reds. So this is a tough situation. We will see. Will he successfully throw this guard?
Problem here is the losers go on at 9, so nobody wanted to lose. It's not a...
being swept hard from the outside. This might be a little too wide. Oh, my goodness. This is just hanging out there. Will it finish hard at the end? It really needs to. Trying hard to push it. I think the door is open. The door is most certainly open. I think if Ardsley simply noses their yellow, then they will sit two and take both reds out. This is the shot of the match, really. Not be enough time to get a full 8th end if they did make the clock. I don't think they made clock, considering they are not really worried about it. So this potentially the last shot of the match here. Winner will move on to the semifinals. Well, let's see. Feels narrow. Swept hard from the inside. I think it's narrow. It might crash those guards on the left. Yes, it will. It'll just crash those guards on the left. Unfortunate. That was very close.
The chance was there.
Yeah. Are they playing? I guess we're playing. All right. We will get part of an 8th end in. But now that goes to 8-4 back in favor of Hang 10 and Shake. The lead 4 stones. So at this point, I feel like you play the can't score if you don't have rocks game. So this one just going to go right through. And the name of the game right now for Ardsley is guard. Can't be in the house. If it's in the house, it's just going to be taken out. You have to successfully guard here. Give yourself things to hide behind. Over on sheet 1, a couple rocks left in the 8th end. It is 7-5 in favor of the team from Broomstone. So the team from Albany making a pretty good comeback of it. That was 6-0 after 2 ends. And yes, this is a good guard, just a little bit off to the corner, as the call was. And the call, once again, is for this rock to be thrown straight through the house. Don't give them anything to work with. Just get it out of there. And that rock also coming right through. Now, another guard here. This one will be thrown to the other side. Try and split the house of guards. Both sweepers on this rock hard. I think it's over the hog line, but it is maybe a 2. Might get to 3. Yes. Oh, sit down. Oh, my goodness. That got legs at the end, and so that is the unfortunate part where you just take this rock out and have the shooter roll out of the house. It comes down to, can you hit your takeouts? Hard sweeping from the inside. This one might stick around if it hits. You're going to get off of it to try and make sure it doesn't nose. But unfortunately, that rock is sticking around. So now, if you're Ardsley, you try and hit and roll behind your guard. Nine minutes remaining on the clock. Might be able to make up some time based on the number of high power shots being thrown, but I don't think they'll get the full 16 stones in this end. Hard sweeping from the outside, trying to push it. Need to get the roll behind the guard. This is going to roll the opposite direction and out of the house. So now the free guard rule no longer applies. This is a simple prospect of take out that guard. Can't score without stones. Don't let it over curl now. All right, that'll be good. Yep, perfect. Shooter splits off. Target is out of play as well. Fourth rock here for Ardsley, so it is a tough prospect now.
Yeah, every stone matters now.
You're almost playing the hope they miss game, which is never a good game to be playing, but sometimes that is the game you have to play. At one on the center line, a one guard, but center line and guard no longer has any protections. It's going to be another takeout, and then after this rock is gone, every rock that Ardsley throws will have to end up in the house, which is a tough ask when the Schenectady team is hitting all of their takeouts. We'll see if they hit another one here. Sweeping hard from the inside to prevent the curl. And that is yet another perfect shot. Shooter splits off to the side. And now, just going to try and split the house. Get this one as far to the side as possible. You know, takeouts to the corner are a little weird. And this one must be in the house. The wait might even be a little long, unfortunately. This one, there's a similar one that just slid way out. It's going to stay in, I think. No. Is it? That'll do it. That'll do it. That stone is long. They shake. Schenectady's team will take the win over Ardsley's team, advance to the semifinals. Hang 10 and Shake gets the win in this one, 8-4. And that will be that. We'll take a look at some scores over on Sheet 1 and Sheet 3. Sheet 2 shook a while ago. Team Brewster got the win there. Sheet 1, we have 2 rocks remaining. Broomstones is up 7-5 with the house pretty open. Yellow sitting 1, that being the Broomstones team. 2 and 3 is red, which is the Albany team. Chu Nowicki. That live stream is available as well on our YouTube page. Sheet number 3, we're in the 7th end. They made pretty good time after the delay due to ice conditions. Oh my goodness, apparently a crazy shot just went down there. That is 6-2 right now in favor of Hawaiian hit and roll over Team Walker out of Cincinnati. Sheet 1 and Sheet 3 are still going. We're going to stick here at Sheet 4 as we wait for the next draw to occur. So head over there if you want to see some more curling. Sheet 1 is an A bracket match right now. if that tickles your fancy. Cool. We will be back later. Thank you.